The Book of Jubilees. This is the history of the division of the days of the Torah and of the testimony, of the events of the years through the years of the weeks, festivals, the Moedim of the covenant, the mitzvot, and of their Shabbats, of the Jubilee thereof, all of the years of the tables of the Torah and the commandment, according to the voice of Yahweh, as he said to him, Go up to the top of the mountain. Jubilees, chapter 1. Yahweh called Moshe up to the mountain to give the account of the division of the days. And it came to pass, in the first year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month, that Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Come up to me on the mount, and I will give you 2 tablets of stone on the Torah, and of the commandments which I have written, that you may teach them. And Moshe went up into the mount of Yahweh, and the splendor of Yahweh abode on the Mount Sinai, and a cloud overshadowed it 6 days. And he called to Moshe on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud, and the appearance of the splendor of Yahweh was like the flaming fire of the top of the mount. And Moshe was on the mount 40 days and 40 nights, and Yahweh taught him the earlier and the latter history of the divisions of all of the days of the Torah and of the testimony, the instructions. And he said, Incline your heart to every word which I shall speak to you on this mount, and write them in a book, in order that their generations may see how I have not forsaken them for all the evil which they have wrought in transgressing the covenant which I established between me and you for their generations this day on Mount Sinai. And thus it will come to pass, when all these things come upon them, that they will recognize that I am more righteous than they in all their judgments and in all their actions. And they will recognize that I have been truly with them. And do you write for yourself all these words which I declare unto you, this day, for I know their rebellion and their stiff-neckedness, before I bring them into the land of which I swore to their fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and Yaakov, saying, Unto your seed I give a land flowing with milk and honey, and they will eat and be satisfied, and they will turn to strange gods, deities, which cannot deliver them, and ought for their tribulations. And this witness shall be heard for a witness against them, for they will forget all of my mitzvot, my commandments, even all that I command them, and they will walk after the Gentiles, and after their uncleanness, and after their shame, and will serve their deities, and these will prove unto them an Jubilees 2. Moshe is given the complete history from creation. And the Malach of the present spoke to Moshe according to the word of Yahweh, saying, Write the complete history of the creation, how in 6 days Yahweh Tezavot finished all his work, and that all he had created, and kept Shabbat on the 7th day, and hallowed it for all ages, and appointed it as a sign for all his works. For on the first day he created the heavens which are above, and the earth, and the waters, and all the spirits which serve before him, the Malachim of the presence, and the Malachim of the sanctification, and the Malachim of the fire, and the Malachim of the spirit of the wind, and the Malachim of the spirit of the clouds, and the darkness, and of snow, and of hail, and of hoar frost, and of the Malachim of the voices of the thunder and of the lightning, and the Malachim of the spirits of cold and of heat, and the winter, and of the spring, and of the autumn, and of the summer, and all of the spirits of his creation, which are in the heavens and on the earth, Shamayim and Arets. He created Berashit, the abyss, and the darkness, eventide, the night, and the light, dawn and the day, which he has prepared in the knowledge of his heart. And thereupon we saw his works, and praise him, and lauded before him on account of all of his works. For 7 great works did he create on the first day, and on the 2nd day he created the firmament in the midst of the waters, and the waters were divided on that day. Half of them went up above, and half of them went down below the firmament that was in the midst over the face of the whole earth. And this was the only work Yahweh created on the 2nd day. And on the 3rd day he commanded the waters to pass from off the face of the whole earth into one place, and the dry land to appear. And the waters did so, and as he commanded them, and they retired from off the face of the earth from one place outside of this firmament, and the dry land appeared. And on that day he created for them all the seas according to their separate gathering places, and all the rivers, and the gatherings of the waters in the mountains, and on all the earth, and all the lakes, and all the dew of the earth, and the seed which is sown, and all sprouting things, and fruit-bearing trees, and trees of wood, and the garden of Eden, in Eden, and all. These 4 great works Yahweh created on the 3rd day. And on the 4th day he created the sun, and the moon, and the stars, and set them in the firmaments of the heaven, to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and divide the light from the darkness. And Yahweh appointed Jubilees 3. And on the 6th day of the 2nd week we brought, according to the word of Yahweh, unto Adam all the beasts, and all the cattle, and all the birds, and everything that moves on the earth, and everything that moves in the water, according to their kinds, and according to their types, the beasts on the 1st day, and the cattle on the 2nd day, and the birds on the 1st day, 3rd day, and all that which moves on the earth on the 4th day, and that which moves in the water on the 5th day. And Adam named them all by their respective names, and as he called them, so was their name. And on these 5 days Adam saw all these, male and female, according to every kind that was on the earth. But he was alone, and found no helpmate for him. And Yahweh said to us, It is not good that the man should be alone. Let us make him a helpmeet for him. And Yahweh, our sovereign ruler, caused a deep sleep to fall upon him. And he slept, and he took for the woman one rib from amongst his ribs. And this rib was the origin of the woman from amongst his rib. And he built up the flesh in its stead, and built the woman. And he awakened Adam out of his sleep, and on awaking he rose on the 6th day, and he brought her to him. And he knew her, and said to her, This is now bone of my bone, and flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called my wife, because she was taken from her husband. Therefore shall man and wife be one, and therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. In the 1st week was Adam created, and the rib his wife. In the 2nd week he showed her unto him. And for this reason the commandment was given to keep in their defilement for a male 7 days, and for a female twice 7 days. And after Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, he brought him into the garden of Eden to keep and to till and keep it. But his wife they brought in on the 18th day, and after this she entered into the garden of Eden. And for this reason the commandment is written on the heavenly tablets in regard to her that gives birth. If she bears a male, she shall remain in her uncleanness 7 days according to the 1st week of days. And 33 days shall she remain in the blood of her purifying, and she shall not touch any kodesh thing, nor enter into the sanctuary, until she accomplishes these days, which in the case of a male child. But in the case of the female child, she shall remain in her uncleanness 2 weeks of days, according to the first 2 weeks, and 66 days in the blood of her purification, and they will be in all 80 days. Jubilees 4. Cain and Abel. And in the 3rd week, in the 2nd Jubilee, she gave birth to Cain. And in the 4th, she gave birth to Abel. And in the 5th, she gave birth to her daughter, Awan. And in the 1st year of the 3rd Jubilee, Cain slew Abel because Yahweh accepted the sacrifice of Abel, and did not accept the offering of Cain. And he slew him in the field, and his blood cried from the ground to heaven, complaining because he had slain him. And Yahweh reproved Cain because of Abel, because he had slain him, and he made him a fugitive on the earth because of the blood of his brother, and he cursed him upon the earth. And on this account it is written on the heavenly tables, Cursed is he who smites his neighbor treacherously. And let all who have seen him and heard say, So be it. And the man who has seen and not declared it, let him be accursed as the other. And for this reason we announce, when we came before Yahweh our sovereign ruler, all the sin which is committed in heaven and on the earth, and in the light and in the darkness, and everywhere. And Adam and his wife mourned for Abel 4 weeks of years, 99 to 127. And in the 4th year of the 5th week, they became joyful, and Adam knew his wife again. And she bore a son, and he called his name Seth. For he said, Yahweh has raised up a second seed upon us on the earth instead of Abel, for Cain slew him. And in the 6th week he begat his daughter Azurah, and Cain took Awan, his sister, to be his wife, and she bare him Enoch at the close of the 4th Jubilee. And in the 1st year of the 1st week of the 1st Jubilee, houses were built on the earth, and Cain built a city, and called its name after the name of his son Enoch. And Cain knew Eve his wife, and she bare him 9 sons. And in the 5th week of the 5th Jubilee, Seth took Azurah, his sister, to be his wife, and in the 4th she bare him Enos, and began to call on the name of Yahweh on the earth. And in the 7th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, Enos took Naam, his sister, to be his wife, and she bare him a son in the 3rd year of the 5th week, and called his name Canaan. And at the close of the 8th Jubilee, Canaan took Maaluth, his sister, to be his wife, and she bare him a son in the 9th Jubilee, in the 1st week of the 3rd year of this week. And Jubilees 5. And it came to pass, when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born unto them, that the Malachim of Yahweh saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon, and they took themselves wives of all whom they chose, and they bore unto them sons, and they were giants. And Torah-lessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way, alike men and cattle and beasts and birds, and everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. And Torah-lessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men was thus evil continually. And Yahweh looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its orders, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth which he had created. But Noah found free, unmerited favor before the eyes of Yahweh, and against the angels whom he had sent upon the earth he was exceedingly wroth, and he gave commandment to root them out of all their dominion, and he bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth. And behold, they are bound in the midst of them, and they are kept separate. And against the sons went forth a command from before his face, his panav, that they should be smitten with the sword, and be removed from under heaven. And he said, My spirit shall not always abide on man, for they also are flesh, and their days shall be 120 years. And he sent his sword on into their midst, that each should slay his neighbor. And they began to slay each other till they all fell by the sword, and they were destroyed from off the earth. And their fathers were witnesses of their destruction, and after this they were bound in the depths of the earth forever, leolam va'ed, until the day of the great condemnation, when the judgment is executed on all those who have corrupted their ways and their works before Yahweh. And he destroyed all from their places, and there was not left one of them whom he judged, not according to all their wickedness. And he made for all his works a new and tzedak, righteous nature, so that they should not sin. Jubilees 6. And on the new month of the third month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on that mountain. And he made atonement for the earth, and took a kid, and made atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth, for everything that had been on it had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark with Noah. And he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took an ox, and a goat, and a sheep, and kids, and salt, and a turtle dove, and the young of a dove, and placed a burnt sacrifice on the altar, and poured thereon an offering mingled with oil, and sprinkled wine, and stewed frankincense over everything, and caused a goodly savor to arise, acceptable before Yahweh. And Yahweh smelt the goodly savor, and he made a covenant with him, that there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, should never cease, cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever. And you increase you and multiply upon the earth, and become many upon it, and be a blessing upon it. The fear of you and the dread of you I will inspire in everything that is on the earth and in the sea. And behold, I have given unto you all beasts, and all winged things, and everything that moves on the earth, and the fish of the waters, and all things for food. As the green herbs, I have given you all things to eat. But flesh, with the life thereof, with the blood, you shall not eat, for the life of all flesh is in the blood, lest your blood of your lives be required. At the hand of every man, at the hand of every beast, will I require the blood of man. Whoso sheds man's blood, by man's shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Yahweh made he man. And you increase you and multiply on the earth. And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood, nor any in flesh. And he made a covenant before Yahweh forever throughout all the generations of the earth in this month. On this account he spoke to you, that you should make a covenant with the children of Israel in this month upon the mountain with an oath, and that you should sprinkle blood upon Jubilees 7. And in the 7th week of the first year, 13:17 a.m., thereof in this Jubilee, Noah planted vines on the mountain on which the ark had rested, named Lubar, one of the Ararat mountains, and they produced fruit in the 4th year, 13:20 a.m. And he guarded their fruit, and gathered it in this year in the 7th month. And he made wine there and put it into a vessel, and kept it unto the 5th year, 13:21 a.m., until the first day on the new month of the 1st month. And he celebrated with joy the day of this feast, and he made a burnt sacrifice unto Yahweh, 1 young ox, and 1 ram, and 7 sheep, each a year old, and a kid of goats, that he might make atonement thereby for himself and his sons. And he prepared the kid first, and placed some of its blood on the flesh that was on the altar which he had made, and all the fat that he laid on the altar where he made the burnt sacrifice, and the ox, and the ram, and the sheep, and he laid all their flesh upon the altar. And he placed all their offerings mingled with oil upon it, and afterwards he sprinkled wine on the fire which he had previously made on the altar. And he placed incense on the altar, and caused a sweet savor to ascend, acceptable before Yahweh, his sovereign ruler. Yud-He Vav-He, Tezavot. And he rejoiced and drank of his wine, he and his children with joy. And it was evening, and he went into his tent, and being drunk, he lay down and slept, and was uncovered in his tent as he slept. And Ham saw Noah his father naked, and went forth and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem took his garment, and arose, and he and Japheth, and they placed the garment on their shoulder, and went backwards, and covered the shame of their father, and their faces were backward. And Noah awoke from his sleep, and knew all that this his younger son had done unto him. And he cursed his son, and said, Cursed be Canaan, an enslaved servant shall he be unto his brethren. And he blessed Yivarekah to Shem, and said, Yivarekah, blessed be the Yahweh Tezavot, the Almighty, of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. Yahweh shall enlarge Japheth, and Yahweh shall dwell in the dwelling of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Ham knew Jubilees 8. The earth divided into 3 parts for Shem and Ham and Japheth. In the 29th Jubilee, in the first week, 1373 a.m., in the beginning thereof, Arphaxad took to himself a wife, and her name was Rasiu Yah, the daughter of Susan, the daughter of Elam, and she bare him a son in the 3rd year in this week, in 1375 a.m. And he called his name Canaan. And the son grew, and his father taught him writing, and he went to seek for himself a place where he might seize for himself a city. And he found a writing which former generations had carved on a rock. And he read that there was thereon, and he transcribed it, and sinned owing to it, for it contained the teachings of the watchers, in accordance with which they used to observe the omens of the suns, the eclipses, and the moon, and the stars, in all their signs of heaven. And he wrote it down, and said nothing regarding it, for he was afraid to speak to Noah about it, lest he should be angry with him on account of it. And in the 13th Jubilee, 14:29 a.m., in the 2nd week, in the 1st week thereof, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Milcah, the daughter of Madiah, the son of Japheth, and in the 4th year, 1432 a.m., he begat a son, and he called his name Shelah, for he said, Truly I have been sent. And in the 4th year he was born. And Shelah grew up, and took him for himself a wife, and her name was Mu'ak, the daughter of Chesed, his father's brother, in the 113th Jubilee, in the 5th week, in the 1st year, 1499 a.m. thereof. And she bare him a son in the 5th year, 1503 a.m. thereof, and he called his name Eber, and he took unto himself a wife, and her name was Azurad, the daughter of Nebrod, in the 32nd Jubilee, in the 7th week, in the 3rd year thereof, 1564 a.m. And in the 6th year, 1567 a.m. thereof, she bare him a son, and he called his name Jubilee 9. And Ham divided amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth for Cush towards the east, and to the west of him for Mizraim, and to the west of him for Put, and to the west of him, and to the west thereof, on the sea for Canaan. And Shem was divided amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth from Ham and his sons to the east of the river Tigris, till it approaches the east, the whole land of India, and on the Red Sea on its coast, and the waters of Dedan, and all the mountains of Mebri and Elah, and all the lands of Susan, and all that is on the side of Farnach, to the Red Sea and the river Tina. And for Ashur came forth, and the second portion, all the land of Ashur, and Nineveh, and Shinar, and to the border of India, and it ascends and skirts the river. And for Arpachshad came forth the third portion, all the land of the regions of Chaldees, to the east of the Euphrates, bordering on the Red Sea, and all the waters of the desert, close to the tongue of the sea, which looks towards Egypt. All the lands of Lebanon, and Sanir, and Amana, to the border of the Euphrates. And for Aram there came forth the fourth portion, and all the land of Mesopotamia between the Tigris and the Euphrates to the north of the Chaldees, to the border of the mountains of Asher, and the land of Arara. And there came forth for Lud the fifth portion, the mountains of Ashur, all appertaining to them, till it reaches the great sea, and till it reaches the east of Ashur, his brother. And Japheth also divided the lands of his inheritance among his sons. And the first portion came forth for Gomer, to the east, from the north side to the river Tina. And in the north there came forth for Magog all the inner portions of the north, until it reaches to the sea of Meat. And for Madai came forth his portion, that he should possess from the west of his two brothers to the islands, and to the coasts of the islands. And for Yavan came forth the fourth portion, every island, and the islands which are toward the border of Lud. And for Tubal there came forth the fifth portion, in the midst of the tongue, which approaches toward the border of the portion of Lud, to the second tongue, to the region